Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Next Level Teaching. I'm your host, Jeremy Anderson, here with my super dope co-hostess with the mostest, Miss Tori Rodriguez, a.k.a. T-Rod. What it do, girlie?
Hey, Jay.
How you feeling?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Great. Got my man Shivy
I
in
know.
the building.
I'm so excited to have you back. Let me tell you, Shivy, our first chat with you ignited something in me.
Yeah.
And I feel like I am a more vocal teacher now. And I speak up for myself more than I ever have.
I love that.
And I have to say a lot of that is because of you and our first conversation. So to be honest, guys, we're not really going to bio Shivy in today because we've already had him on. And if you haven't heard our first conversation with Shivy, you have to hear it, you guys. So you got to go back.
Yeah, pause this and go to the first one and then double back.
Yeah, because this man right here, teacher-preneur, and definitely just wants to speak up for teachers and
an advocate.
And I just appreciate it so much.
Yes.
So before we really hop right in though, Jay, why don't you at least let our listeners know who we are here at Next Level Teaching?
We want you to laugh, learn, and live your best life. You know what I'm saying? And so we're giving you different aspects. We're giving you different vantage points.
Yeah.
We want to give you something that's going to make you think and say, that's deep. We want to also convince you. I know Tori be like, you know, when you hear that.
I love, but I hate the conviction.
The conviction, because we want to grow. Like, I stopped listening to sermons years ago that would affirm me. I'm like, I know he loved me. I need to listen to something that's going to convict me.
Yeah.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying? If I'm going to grow. So we want you to laugh, learn, grow, and live your best life. And so you all know Shivy is going to be a regular at the podcast.
Yeah.
When I was talking to Tori and Ryan, I was like, I finna bring Shivy, and they was like,
Yes.
you know what I'm saying? And so I'm glad you pulled up, man.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. It's the conversations that you have here are absolutely necessary. And I just appreciate, being a part of the space and being able to just kind of, I don't know, give my insights on things, but then learn from y'all as well. So this is a blessing.
And we all about energy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we really want to bring people on that have something to say.
Right.
And create a safe space for them to share their truth and also encourage people, right? But we also want people that got energy, you know what I'm saying, that have something to say. And so,
and you always do.
Always. Always. You know who had last?
What's that?
So we need to make sure this is in their rotation is Tyson Askew.
Okay.
Remember when you were doing the rally?
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I got a teacher that got COVID.
Correct.
My
Twice.
man had it
Right.
twice.
Yeah.
And so he came and was a part last week.
Yeah.
And shared. And so, yeah, I asked him too. I was like, bro, tell me about your heart. Remember that?
Yep.
I was like, because like that would, depending on where you are, like that might corrode your heart and you start feeling, and he in a school where the kids don't have to wear masks.
Right.
So it's different if the powers that be respected and loved them, and I'm not saying that they don't, but actions speak louder.
Yeah, it's truth.
I could see if that happened, but to know that this could have been avoided.
Right.
And you know what his first thought was?
What's
that
that?
Convicted me. He was like, his first thought, like, man, I got it, and man, I got it again, is shoot, a substitute gonna be teaching my kids.
And they're not going to be getting what they need.
But that's what's wrong, I think, with our profession.
Yeah.
His first thought was, I'm concerned about them. It's like, bro, you know what I'm saying? And what I say, the best self-care, the best health care is self-care.
Correct. Yeah, I know.
And they struggle with that.
With teachers, we struggle with, the fact we always put the kids first. We always are concerned with the well-being of the village before we are ourselves. And the outcome of that is that we're not always in the best position to serve that way.
Yeah.
The other outcome of it is that a lot of policies are put into place with the underlying thought and knowledge that the teacher's going to do it anyway.
Yep. Preach. Oh.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like if we cut the budget, they going to come out of their pocket. If we make them teach virtual, they going to pay for the internet. If we, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm teaching virtual.
Yeah.
Look, Governor Kemp here in Georgia decided that they were going to give, $1,000 check to teachers or something to that effect that's coming. That don't cover my internet during the time that we've been in this pandemic.
Amen.
Right.
They acting like they giving us something, but they're not. The reality of it is they're trying to cover the basis of other things and make it look as if they're really doing something for us, but they're not.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I heard. I think it was 97 when Kirk Franklin dropped it. Do you want a revolution? That's instantly what I heard when you said that. And so let's talk about the rally, because it's like, in order for something to happen, in order for there to be some change, it got to be some people that's like,
No.
I'm not doing that.
That's right.
But it's like, but I love for the kids. Like, I reached out to a lot of my colleagues, and some was like, I'll be there, and some was like, I'm concerned about my kids. And so that's a fine line.
It is.
And I do feel like that makes sense. Like, they like, we'll put this in place. They're going to do whatever anyway, because it's like they're wired like that. Now, this might be a stretch, but this is almost, and it probably is a stretch, but go here with me. This probably on some Jason Bourne stuff. Like in the military, it's like you got some people that's so down for the country. They are so down for red, white, and blue that they can literally program you to do whatever it is that they want you to do.
Oh, it's some Stockholm's energy with teachers
Okay,
and
I
education.
didn't know if that was a stretch. I had just seen that the other day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Nah, that's
it's something
real.
different there.
A lot of teachers. Look, teaching is a calling.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know what I'm
Facts.
saying?
You say that.
Like
Facts.
it is why we will go into $50,000+ of debt to
Yep.
do a job that pays you less than $50,000 a year.
Amen.
You know what I mean? Like we are willing to go above and beyond, knowing that we will not get wealthy doing it, we will not get rich doing it, and we'll do it anyway. I mean, how many professions do you go into where the outcome of your income is capped?
Yeah. And then the fact that that the starting salary at my best friend's job is more than I've made as an 8th year teacher.
Correct. So the disparities are absolutely ridiculous, right? And Georgia is not high on the list in terms of teacher compensation. You got some places like a Houston, Texas, where they actually they kind of rocking with the teachers. But I don't care if you're the highest paid teacher in whatever district, you're
It's
still
still not
paid
enough.
at least 20 to 30% less than your likewise educated counterpart. So it's we're still not getting paid what we should be getting paid. And then don't be an educator who is successful as an entrepreneur. Then you got to kind of deal with how much is this taking away from my bottom line by sacrificing to do this.
Yeah.
So it's nothing but a calling. There is a higher order that will have you be invested and stay vested in education. But then you get slapped with disrespectful things like school reopenings or lack of resources
Or being told that you have to come into the building even though the kids are being taught virtual.
Correct.
I still have to go into the building
Yep.
to do something I could be doing from home.
Yep.
I have to drive 45 minutes one way, so there's gas money. And you're also taking away my time in the morning that I could be doing other things that are filling me up to prepare me for the day. And then I'm also having to pay for my dog walker to let my pups out during the day when I could be doing at home exactly what you're asking me to do in the building.
Yep.
Why?
It's like a lack of trust, though. It's like,
Ooh,
man,
yep.
let me
That's
babysit y'all in this
that's
building right quick so
Yep.
I can make sure
Yep.
you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
As opposed to saying, what do you think would be the best environment for you to teach? That should be the question. If you don't trust me, then why are you going to put me in this position anyway?
Well,
Just let me go.
And if there are teachers, because that's the big talk, is that the reason that we are being babysat in the building is because there are teachers in the spring that didn't do what they were supposed to do. That's fine. Why are you not putting them responsible for their actions? Why are they not going on, what's it called, a professional plan where they're
Right.
Performance
having to be monitored?
improvement plan,
Yes.
something like that.
Like
Yeah.
why, I don't know what it's called because I ain't never been on one, sorry. But like why are we all feeling the brunt and the burden of something that other teachers didn't step up to do when you've got teachers that are wanting to give their all?
A lot of that is a farce, though.
Yeah.
A lot of that is a farce because the reality is that you got to justify keeping the lights on in them buildings, keeping the heat on in them buildings, them contractors you have to clean those buildings. You have to continue to justify the budget. That has a
So
lot
my
to do
life is all about justification of the budget. My
with
health and
schools
my
getting
well.
reopened is about a budget. Like right now, we got a bill that's on the table here in Georgia that is about to financially penalize. It's called HB 60. It's about to financially penalize schools that are leaning on virtual. So they are through policy going to force schools to reopen. Then you had the whole, if you don't test, then we're going to snatch 10% of your budget through federal dollars. And they pretend as if they really care. But meanwhile, if you look at the budget from the state, they just cut millions out of education right now during the pandemic.
We were supposed to get our raise. That didn't happen.
Man, come on. Come on.
And my question is, we're not getting our raise, so where's that money going then? And who's sitting pretty while we're struggling to make ends meet as teachers? You know, I'm sitting here working on my weekend, right? Working through a break like MLK. And other professions like attorneys are getting billed for their hours. But mine's just coming out of my free time.
Yep.
And so you want me to be teaching concurrently. You want me to be doing digital and face-to-face all at the same time. Plus you want me to be going to meetings all the time, creating new lessons for all of this. And yet I don't have enough time in the day to get it done. And you know that I don't.
Yep.
But you're not going to pay me anything additional for my time that I'm doing things outside of my home.
If teachers only work contracted hours, the education system would fall. If we only worked our contracted hours, it ain't gonna happen. Like, and this is funny because I've tried to be intentional about, I'm not lesson planning on the weekends. I ain't grading nothing. I ain't doing no work on the weekends. And then guess what? You pay for it during the week. You can't not do it.
And your kids pay for it as well. And that's the problem. And so that's where they get us, is they pull at our heartstrings.
Yep.
Like, for example, I had a coworker that was out with COVID. And she was out for a while, pregnant with COVID. And so instead of her students getting a sub and not being taught because she can't teach from home.
Wait, y'all got subs?
Few and far between.
We don't even have subs.
Okay, so I'm getting there. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I took her kids into my classroom. That way, other teachers didn't have to get split.
Yeah.
And they could at least have that one or two subs that show up in the building. And I took on her kids, extra kids in my classroom that's already not socially distanced, so that her kids aren't losing an opportunity to learn because they know that I have the heart for it. And sometimes they don't even give us a choice. You don't have subs. Okay, so you got to split classes then. If you're physically in the building and you don't have, so then there definitely goes socially distancing. And you would be so proud of me, Shivy. This was where I stood up and I said something to administration. Yeah. Okay, so the money that normally would be going to a sub to fill that class, when that class gets split, where does that money go for that sub? Money. That should be coming into my pocket. And I got told no. And I said, why?
Right.
So we can sit here and, have our little monograms on the hand sanitizer that is in the front office. You can make me brownies and give me all these little cute presents. I don't care. I don't want hot chocolate. I want money in my pocket because I am watching extra kids in my classroom. And so my kids are then losing my attention because I'm trying to get other kids on task for language arts that I don't even teach.
And you got to build culture with those kids too.
Yes, because they're in my classroom. I have a relationship with that teacher's kids now because I had them for a week and a half learning in my classroom. At one point, I was running back and forth from my class to her class to make sure that her kids were getting what they needed. And that's when I finally said, cut this. They're coming into my classroom because I'm tired of physically closing my rings on my watch from running back and forth. I didn't ask for a workout at work.
Yeah, facts. She's like, that's why I go to the gym in the morning.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, I can't even afford that. That's why I work out at home.
Right. But and watch this. And then you said something deep. You said that when you do that, the kids suffer. If I don't do it over the weekend, I go to the classroom, the kids are going to suffer. But if I didn't do it, the kids in my home suffer. And so I was just doing a PD and I was sharing with some teachers. I was like, we got to find a way to find a balance. I said, because you can't give your school the best and your family the rest.
Amen.
But then I'm thinking like, how do you do that though? Like, we can't be omnipresent. Somebody gonna take a hit.
which is why teacher tired is a thing.
Yes.
Yeah, facts.
There's no tired, like teacher pandemic tired,
Man. and people think like, oh, if you're doing it virtual or you're doing this, then it's just
it's
easier.
all hard.
Like,
it's all hard.
it ain't easy.
No.
It ain't easy. And on top of that, because our society is not vested in things like food insecurity, housing insecurity, social emotional health, like those things, we pick up the slack for those things.
Yes.
Right?
We do.
And they lean on us to do it. And that's the other reason they want schools reopened. Well, how are the kids gonna get fed? Well, America feed them. Well, how are the kids going to get the counseling or the social emotional help? They're so depressed. Give them access to
What
mental
about
health services.
my mental health?
And nobody talks about teachers' mental health.
Right.
Nobody talks about what we are going through, the depression that sets in, the anxiety that sets in.
There's so many of us that are on medication now to try and deal with the anxiety and depression.
Yep.
Because we can't, when you have 10 kids leave your classroom because they now have to be quarantined and you've been around them, talking this close to them, trying to help them.
That anxiety,
That anxiety comes in. And that is my one frustration is you're right. Everyone puts kids ahead of teachers, which is important for kids to have a say and for kids to get what they need. But in order for kids to get what they need, we have to be able to pour into them.
Yep. And I don't think it has to be a either or. I think we need a both and perspective on it, right? Like our teachers need to be healthy, our students need to be healthy, right? But our schools are a place of employment, and America has decided that your place of employment and your health are one and the same. You get your insurance predominantly from your place of employment.
Yep.
We're state agents. Like we work for our state governments, our county governments. So therefore, a prioritization for our emotional health, our well-being, our physical health needs to be priority to them. How many schools are making gyms accessible to us? You talk about not being able to afford a gym.
Right.
Why? How much would school systems save if teachers could be vested in their physical health and then did not have to lean on being sick, and now you got to get subs or all these other kind of things. Imagine if we had investments in the right places.
Yep.
Why is it that I only can get 4 or 5 EAP visits on my health insurance plan?
Yep.
So if I go see a counselor once a week, which we should, or once every other week if we just at least trying to maintain, I only get a month and a half of services, and then now I got to kick out $150, $200, $100 per visit for that.
Yep.
And we're already stretched in our income.
Yep.
And I know like the dialogue here is supposed to be one that is, like really uplifting to everyone, and we want to kind of, give the feel good.
Yeah, sometimes we gotta get in though. Yeah.
And I think that there is a feel good in being empowered to be vocal.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Right?
Did you see that twinkle in her eyes? She was
That's what
like,
I'm
"You
saying.
will be proud of me."
I have
Right.
never. This is the first year that I have finally stood up for myself and talked to my administrator about things that I feel like they should know about instead of just sucking it up and taking it in and swallowing it. This is the first time that I'm actually able to say, Black and brown people, we would like to be represented in this.
Yeah.
Right.
Even things as simple as a dress-up week.
I remember having a chat with you. She was just like, "My anxiety is high. I cannot keep this in no more. I'm about to explode." You know what I'm saying?
And I think it's important, though, because if we don't talk about these things to administration, then they think that everything's hunky-dory.
Yes.
And so we need to be more vocal, honestly.
Yes.
Not to sit here and whine and complain, but if you don't let people know that you're struggling and you sit here and put on this happy face and pretend like everything's fine, then they don't know how to even help you.
Yep.
And then it's on them at that point on
Yep.
whether or not change is made. Because I think if we sit quiet as teachers, then to a certain extent, it's on us for not being vocal and not asking for what we need.
But I also think that teachers are forcibly silenced.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying?
From there,
Right.
once we do that,
Yep.
if from there no one does anything, then it's on them.
Yep.
It's not on us anymore.
So when you had your demonstration, the teachers sick out, there are some administrators just like, if you're a part of this, you're in trouble. Bro,
Are you kidding me?
I got some stuff. I got screenshots. I had some schools on the West Coast. And they were just like, Jeremy, you have a lot of influence. And one of the person who strongly advocated for me, and she looks like a representation of the average teacher in America. And she's like, Jeremy, you know I love you and I'm for you. She was just like, and there are some that's like, yeah, because we saw your post on Instagram and Twitter. She was just like, but now some of the administrators are like, if they do what Jeremy's saying, what if I don't have so many?
That's the whole point. What if we don't have enough subs?
Right.
That's the point. We already don't have enough subs in in the country, let's be honest. There was a local county here in Metro Atlanta that just upped the daily rate for sub pay to $200 a day because that's how desperate we are for subs right now. There are some, support staff in plenty of schools in the Metro Atlanta area that don't even get paid that much a day. That are contracted. That's a problem.
100%. I think, in my district, we don't even have subs. Like, ain't no sub. They're like, shoot, you virtual. Just post up in your Google Classroom, whatever.
Wow.
Ain't no subs.
Wow.
But you would think you would
they
take some of that.
They trying to scamp on some money.
Man.
So as I'm seeing layers, it's like, okay, educators, because I hear the cries, they send me the DMs, they email me, they supporters of the show. I'm hearing that you got your own mental health. Then on top of that, you got the pandemic, the social unrest. But it's like we're dealing with all of this, and it's like testing?
Right.
Are we really talking about testing right now? So talk about that, because I know that that was something you was just like,
that was the whole purpose of why we did the Teachers for Good Trouble rally. For those that don't know, we started an organization called Teachers for Good Trouble. It's national. It spans across the country. We have a petition to end standardized testing during the pandemic. We now have over 30-something thousand signatures on it. That
was quick.
It was pretty quick, and the platform grew very quick. I mean, even just the Instagram account alone grew to the size it took me 7 years to get to within 30 days. And it shows that it really resonates with educators. And one of the big things that we push on is to end standardized testing during the pandemic, and it has everything to do with former Secretary of Education. I say that with a little smile right now, like bye Betsy. She denied all waivers applied for by the states to forego standardized testing during this school year under the premise of we need to know what's going on in the schools and we need to this and this and this and this and that. But the truth is that it's a whole fix in it, right? Because of how states and certain policy groups like ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange Council, y'all Google it, they created policies where schools get a CCRPI rating or a grade rating below a certain amount, that there can be a state takeover, and they call them opportunity schools, opportunity districts, or whatever. And so they take them over, they fire everybody, they get rid of local control, your school board has no oversight, you have nothing anymore, and now they put in for-profit agencies to basically prop up everything. And it ends up like Louisiana, where it's like all charter, you know what I'm saying? And so like you have no local control. You have no real recourse for what's going on. So for me, I see that as the fix, right? Because it's bigger than that. Like, and I didn't even delve into it all the time in dialoguing about it. But the truth is that as your schools and your neighborhoods get deemed opportunity schools, and most times, 9 times out of 9, they're going to be schools that happen that thrive in neighborhoods like ours, where it's Black and brown folks, right? And so they're going to take those schools over. They're going to shut those schools down. They're going to prop up charter schools. And what's going to happen is your housing value is going to tank. And what happens is you're going to have the biggest robbery of Black and brown home ownership wealth ever. And it's going to be through things like testing during a pandemic, when the tests are already racially biased. Right. They're already designed for students not to win. I mean, to the point where if you are successful on standardized tests, like as a collective, you know what they do? They rewrite the test
make it more
to make it harder. So it's like they move
the needle.
every time, right? So it's not even set up for us to win. So now if we end up taking those losses, we lose our wealth and all that. Like, we're losing sight of what really matters right now. In fact, I would even go so far as to say we shouldn't even be grading right now.
Yeah.
There shouldn't even be an A through F grading for anybody right now. And I think we think of all these things like, oh, well, then how does education work? Yo, education, the grading system is new. Standardized testing is new. It is not something that has existed forever.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? K through 12 education only been around for about 100 years. Like, this is not something that has just always been this way.
Yep.
They have been moving the bar. And so I appreciated your presence at the rally. I think we saw a lot of synergy, a lot of energy from that. I was just at a rally this past weekend.
Hold on, before you go there, let me just say it was different rallies in different cities you guys had.
Correct.
Which was amazing. I was at the one here in Atlanta. Black, white, Hispanic, old, young, city council members.
Beautiful, yeah.
Current, past.
Yes.
Like, the community really came together and stood beside you, man.
Correct.
That was different.
I think it really takes, like, you know, some people consider themselves social media influencers, and I had always been kind of like, you don't like that word. You know, I think we kind of learned to turn away from it. But I think it's because everyone has, like, adopted it within their lexicon. Now, I'm an influencer. But it's like, can you actually get people to move to action? And if you can get them to move to action, or you getting them to pick that new cool toothbrush or that new cool, whatever, or are you actually getting them to move to change and do things in the real world?
Yes.
Right? And create legacy from your action. And so to be able to see that we had hundreds, if not thousands of folks around the country moving within the direction of rallies, or just taking the day off being at home, or taking the day off not logging in, or whatever, to take a stand on this.
In such a short amount of time that you put it together as well.
Yes. And now we're seeing other people emboldened and empowered and being more vocal. And for me, like, that's what it's all about. Right. We have to give educators back their voices.
Yes. Yeah.
And I would say, I'm not even, you know what? I'm going to redact that. I'm not going to say give them back their voices. It is, we need to acknowledge we have a voice that needs to be heard and to use it.
Yeah.
These systems, these school systems, are designed to quell out the voice and the light of educators. You see teachers who have been in the game for years, and they're complaining. I called some of my coworkers about the rally, and I'm like, yo, I would love for you to tap in on this. Well, why are you doing this? It ain't going to change nothing. We ain't going to, like, they feel powerless, not recognizing, look at a state like Arizona, where just the past week, 800 educators in a district decided, like, nah, we ain't logging in. Now they scrambling, trying to make it right with the teachers.
Yeah. I'll tell you, there's a county here in the local area where there was an issue with a teacher that spoke up at the local board meeting. And the superintendent came back and said something to the extent of, if you're not happy with your job, then I'll accept your resignation. And that's the problem right there is,
that's some old mob talk right there.
Yes, we have, and not even the fact that he was a teacher, but he also is a resident and a parent in that county as well. And we have the right to go in front of our Board of Education and speak to them and let them know the issues that we're having.
Yep.
And then for it to be squashed publicly.
Yeah, I saw the video.
Like that.
Wow.
It was savage.
It
Wow.
was, and
I
it
was
was
watching,
it was a prepared message.
I was like,
he was
whoa.
ready. The superintendent was ready for that teacher to get up and speak, because he had come up and said things multiple times about different things. And he had a written speech ready. And that's the problem, is when we have our own superintendents that are supposed to be there to support us and uplift us and help us be successful. The saying in that county is, there are those who teach and there are those who support those who teach.
Right.
Are you really supporting if you're squashing?
They're not, but let's be clear, man. Superintendents, and there are some great superintendents out there.
Yes, absolutely.
However, the disparity of what their role is. Like, first off, the education is set up like a pyramid, right? You got your superintendent, you got your school board, you got your admins, you got your teachers, then you got your students, right? It should be flipped on its head.
Agreed.
We should prioritize our students, then our teachers, then our administration, then our superintendents. But you see that it's not true when you look at your superintendents getting compensated $350,000 plus per year. These superintendents ain't paying for internet.
Nope.
They're not paying for their house. They're getting housing allowances.
Yep.
They're getting vehicle allowances.
Travel.
Cell phone. They're getting all of the perks.
Where's my allowance?
Right.
You're less than
Up in the
50K, right? You know what I'm saying?
Thanks.
So they are. It's not even set up for them. It's almost as if they're set up to be out of touch.
That's the problem, is that they're out of touch. And I think that sometimes even administration can be out of touch when it's their job to be in touch and to be helping us. And this year, I told you, you've really inspired me to get a voice. And one thing that I talked to my administration about was the potential for a position of being a liaison between administration and teachers, because there is still such a disconnect. And it was shot down because they were like, the position doesn't already exist, so we would have to create a whole new position, even though we've had someone on the podcast that has had this position. And B, like, we don't need that necessarily. And I'm like, are you sure?
Right.
I'm a teacher, and I'm telling
I'm
you,
telling you we need it,
that
right.
we need this. There is a disconnect. When the protocols that we have in place for being in the building for, social distancing and COVID and whatnot are no longer working because we have so many students in the building that we can't be socially distanced, that, all these protocols, they're not working. We have kids 3 to a seat on the bus. Something has to change, and there's, and you're not seeing it because you're not there. You're not in it all the time.
Now, they know about it. They just don't have the will to do something about it. And they know that, and I'm going to say this, many times they don't have the means to do something about it, but they have an end to get to. And so it's just like, we just going to turn a blind eye to that so that we can get to where we got to go. And if we do that, if we enact what you are asking us to do, then there's going to be accountability for it.
Yeah.
And we don't want to have that accountability.
So I've seen, from all my travels at all these schools, I could probably say I've seen 3 different scenarios when it comes to that leadership at the top. I've seen that superintendent, like y'all saying, whose heart is pure. That's like, I'm rare. I'm really here to advocate for you. They will tell the principals and staff, the system is jacked up. I'm doing the best I can. But then you have the one that is afraid to buck the system because they like, I just want to keep this position. I want to keep the school board
Stay on that
happy.
gravy train.
And then you got the one that know what it is. They got that corroded heart, like the lobbyists that's paying politicians. But that's the only reason they gonna give. I'll give $50,000 in your campaign, but I want you to make sure you take care of my agenda.
Yep.
So then you have that one. This is like, how come you're not advocating for me? But then we realize it's like, oh, you were never advocating for me.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're really here to keep me in line.
Yep.
You're
Yes.
never for me.
But
you
that's
were
a
for
lot
the
of them.
institution.
Yeah.
Right. But I have seen those 3, but a
Correct.
lot of them like that.
Correct.
So it's like, how do we, knowing that, let's pivot here. How do we know, like, what do we take that in? I know, I forget my man's name that was at the rally, but he was basically saying we got to be willing to make some sacrifices, be united, use our voices. And
Attorney
speak up if we
Griggs, I
want
think
that
that's who you
change.
might be talking about, my brother Griggs from the
Yeah.
NAACP.
Yeah.
100%. Like, we do have to be willing to take those chances. And I think those of us who have the privilege of either be doing well as entrepreneurs or just have the will to be vocal, need to be vocal, right? Like, what is the fruit in me having a sizable platform, being able to take on the risk? If they fire me, my lights ain't gonna get cut off. Like, if I have the privilege of those things, then I have a responsibility to lean forward, be vocal, be out front, and to get into the good trouble. Like, a lot of people kind of sit on their privilege and do nothing.
So, okay, so let me give you, this might be pushback, it might not be pushback. You do very well financially, right? Come on, give me some.
Man.
You know what I'm saying?
He does.
All right. Separate from what you do. So me knowing, and I'm not in your pockets, but you probably making 10 times what they teach you in school. You're doing very well for yourself, but you're still showing up to school. Why? Because you love these kids.
Yeah.
And you know it's a calling.
Yeah.
So just for a second, think about the average educator that hasn't found a way to supplement their income.
We're going to get you there, sis. Don't worry about it.
We got you. We got you. I told you, stick with me. And I wish they would let you go. I'm going to tell Tracy, like, we gotta carve out a budget for tour. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh, I've been sticking. Don't worry.
Right. So watch this.
I trust God.
So imagine an educator that has your same heart for kids.
Yeah.
But don't have. Bro, you could have been quit.
Yeah.
But so imagine, so speak to that educator that can't. That's probably why some of them is like, man, I want to stand with you, but
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I just had to highlight that because your heart is pure.
But
you
you
ain't
can.
got to teach, but you're still dealing with this stuff because you really want to bring change.
Yes.
But then there are those that don't have that extra.
That's probably a lot of people listening right now.
100%.
And we want you to know we get it. And so we want to try to help
I
you
get
kind
it,
of figure this thing out because they probably bolden like you have been.
Yeah.
Like, yes, let's go. But it's just like, but I got to.
They think about them lights.
Right.
And that rent or that mortgage. And
their
them
kids. It's a lot.
Yeah. No, 100%. But I say do it anyway.
Yeah.
You do it afraid. So, I once worked in the county that you work in. And I remember when we had the walkout against gun violence in schools.
Yep.
And the policy in that district was if students walk out, they're going to be suspended, they're going to be reprimanded, whatever.
Yep.
Now, in other districts, superintendent was out there. Talk about different superintendents. Superintendent out there on the front line with the kids, organizing the demonstration.
Right.
Oh, this is an opportunity to teach them about civic justice, civil,
Yes.
teaching them about being involved, teaching them about good trouble, right? So the stance where I was very different.
Yeah.
Now, my thing was, okay, well, I'm going to teach my students about John Lewis and good trouble. And this is before everybody cared enough to be talking about good trouble.
Right.
I gave them a whole lesson on that, organized the ACLU to be there, attorneys to be there, help them organize to do their walkout, and handed in my pink slip. I hadn't sold not one T-shirt or merch. I hadn't put on not one virtual event. I had been, matter of fact, I had came in as a what do you call it when you get the interim like license or whatever, like you
The provisional.
I had the provisional.
You was at the bottom.
I was making $27,000.
Yep.
Still standing up for the cause.
Still.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
And
saying?
that's the
So
thing,
like it ain't
Do it
because
afraid.
it ain't because I have a successful clothing line or things like
Oh, yeah,
that
for sure.
or whatever.
But I wanted you to speak to them.
Other people need to know
Because if they
that.
follow you, they like, oh, he can afford to. Before that stuff blew up.
Word up.
He was already on the front
Word
lines.
up.
Yeah.
I was who I am. Like there's nothing there's nothing different about my posture. It's just that now I'm now you can see it more because people care to tap in more. People love success.
Yeah.
All right, well that's dope. But now let's do something with it.
Right.
Well, and I think it's also stepping out in faith and trusting that you knew that no matter what, you would be provided for. Like
100.
he would take care of you.
Yes.
And so I think that that's part of it as well, is knowing that when you are speaking up for something that you believe in, and when you're stepping up for people that maybe are afraid to step up for themselves and, aren't willing to have that voice of their own, yes, it can get you in trouble, but at the same time, look at history and all the good that has come from people stepping up and saying things are not right, and the change that was eventually made. And so it's not easy, no. And it is bucking the system 100%.
Yep.
And it can get you in trouble. It can get you fired. It can get you arrested. It can all kinds of things.
All that.
But eventually, if it is good and true and what it is the right movement, then it can produce good fruit and change.
Yes. Yes. And on top of that, we're teachers. Ain't nobody tripping us over to come take our job.
Amen. There was just something posted
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you fire me,
yeah.
I'm going
Facts.
to get a job.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the new administration? I liked it when Dr. Biden was like, y'all gonna be good.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like he was like, yo, my wife's a teacher. Like I got you. I don't know if I know
for
actions
me,
speak louder.
Show me numbers.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
You want to talk about paying teachers better? That sounds good on its face. Now let's talk about $75,000 as a teacher minimum wage throughout America.
Right.
Give me a number.
Yeah.
You want to talk about caring about teachers' mental health and mental wellness? Then talk to me about 24 EAP opportunities on every state healthcare benefit plan throughout the country. You want to talk to me about equity within schools? Then crush, smash, and shatter the digital divide and make it so that no teacher, no student, and no senior citizen has to pay for access to high-speed internet.
Right.
Like there are certain things that it's like, yo, that sound good, but show me.
Let's put this stuff in place.
Put some numbers out there. Now let's delegate. Let's have some real conversation, dialogue about actual policy. They ain't gave any concrete policy. I am not pacified by the fact that the wife of the president is an educator. Show me policy. I need to see that before I'm over here like rah, 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 rah.
Yeah, it sounds good, but that's why I asked, like,
you
know, because it sounds, when I heard it, I was like, okay.
I'm hopeful.
I'm
Yes.
hopeful.
Yes.
I think that our cry has been heard, but then again, it was heard in March. And everyone was saying we deserved, a significant pay raise back in March when the quarantine happened. And now look where we are. People are sitting here saying, okay, well, if you don't want to teach in person, then quit, find a new job.
Right.
And so, and yet they're not willing to come in and sub.
And we had 8 years with, God bless President Obama, but we had 8 years with Obama, and what the result of it was more leaning on standardized testing with less resources. I mean, a lot of the standardized testing issue that we have right now are things that came out of ESA.
That's what makes you wonder, who are the big cows behind the scenes that's really calling some of these shots as it relates to delegating this money?
Pearson and McGraw-Hill.
I had a conversation. I had a conversation with my wife. I was like, yo, I said, and some of y'all not even ready for that full conversation, but I'll just say, like, this is like some, I don't want to say Illuminati, like some mob boss stuff. Like, it's people back and behind the scenes.
100%.
It's like, it's too much bread. We making too much money. We gonna give you this campaign. Don't you dare touch this right here.
They getting $1.7 billion just for testing.
Don't you dare touch this right here. Do you know what
billion?
folks could do with that bread?
Okay, we need to giggle real quick though. Did you guys see the meme of who is it? Somebody crying. It's like MJ crying or someone like that.
Oh, the classic.
And it says McGraw-Hill when they realize they're going to have to rewrite the history books for 2020.
Yup. But those companies are banking so hard off of our education system.
Right.
But honestly, who uses the textbooks these days?
I've never cracked open a textbook in all of my years of teaching.
We have consumable textbooks in my county.
Yep.
And for math, and I don't even use, they've got some great stuff, and it's all completely available digitally, and then some. Like,
for the record, people are cracking open our next level student curriculum books. I'm going to just say.
Right.
And the
but you know why?
But the thing is,
because your content is not colonized like these textbooks are.
Yes.
Right.
And that's the difference, though. Like, honestly, if it were up to date, if it were, because let's be honest, there's a lot of schools out there that their textbooks, they can't afford new textbooks. So their textbooks are so out of date that they don't even have 9/11 in them.
Why it ain't even, why, first off, why within the last 10 years are we still using physical books?
Thank you.
It doesn't even make sense. Like, how we got so caught off guard with this whole COVID and learning virtual is because we have not innovated.
It's like us reading the newspaper.
Yeah. When was
That's the equivalence.
Scroll and go find that.
Right. That's the equivalence.
You're not doing that.
Exactly.
Right.
It's so true.
It's ridiculous. You wouldn't even be worried about condition of books, turning in books, returning books, cost of books, if it were virtual.
Yeah.
Yeah. Save so much more money.
Yeah.
Yep.
The
And
time
even
it
as
takes
You could
me
put
to
that
get-
money into a Chromebook.
Yes.
Facts.
Thank you. Thank
Facts.
you.
It's funny because when we first dropped our curriculum, Ron was like, we got to have digital. I was like, I got you. As soon as we get these physical done and we got the digital and the pandemic hit, I'm like, I'm so glad
that you thought about it. Yes.
And then when schools think about getting a SEL curriculum book, $10 a pop. I mean, $20 a pop per student. If you got 2,000 students, that's $40,000. They think like, man, or you can get school-wide for $6,000. So it makes sense for us. I ain't tripping. I just want you to have these resources.
Yes.
But then there are some schools that's like, nah, we'll take the physical books. And I'm like,
why?
Bet.
Yeah.
But, I ain't tripping.
Right.
But I'm thinking like.
Because you about to get a bag off that.
Yeah, but I'm thinking like, that's weird, but go for it.
But then I think we probably answered the whole
But they
thing
used
right
to
there.
it.
They get in a bag off of these physical books and been getting a bag off of it so long that it would have been a loss to them and their bottom lines, Pearson and McGraw-Hill, if we would have been investing in Google Chromebooks and being one-to-one for every single student and having all text digitally available.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I need to translate. For some of you out there, a bag, money, right? We got that. Sorry, I had to translate for some people real fast.
A bag of money.
Because I know we have a broad.
There we go.
A very broad.
Money, moolah,
listening.
greenbacks, guap, guacamole, paper,
bread,
little change,
cheddar,
I just really had
cheddar.
to translate for some people.
a check.
coins. You know what I'm saying?
Coins.
So, yeah.
Who uses those
Right,
these days
who uses
anyway?
that, right. Yeah. So no, I get it, man. And so this is what we opened up a few podcasts ago with, as we told the people, we had Ryan on, our engineer, and we was, former educator, 15 some years. I was able to kidnap him and bring him on the squad.
Right.
But I said, man, we made it.
Yeah.
So, man, you made it. And not only did you keep showing up every day last year, but then you also advocate, you organize like nationwide rallies to take place. Tell me what it is you're looking forward to in 2021, man.
Man, for 2021, it is just continued growth.
Okay.
For me, I
Personally
think
or the mission or
all the way around comprehensively.
Okay.
For me, it's about taking the social capital that I've been able to build up and turn that into political capital.
Okay.
It is a matter of being able to create policies that are going to benefit our young people, our families, our elders, and help our areas be what they should be. In a couple weeks, I'm actually going to be announcing a bid for a political seat in Atlanta, and I just
Ryan, show him the piece of paper that you put up a little while ago.
What to say? I can't read
Shivy
it.
for mayor.
Shivy for mayor. I will not be running for mayor, people. But yes,
Right.
like
We love you,
it's,
Keisha.
I was
yes,
gonna say Keish.
Word up.
Yeah.
But it is time for people who have the will to run. It is time for people who have the heart to run. It's time for people who are not doing it to try to get money or drink the milk of our cities, of our counties, and just be freeloaders on it and ride the system for a check. We're not. We're here to revolutionize what is possible in our cities and in our county. And if I can do my part in being a voice for what we need and advocating for the people who are too often forgotten, then I'm going to take the opportunity, take the chance to see if I could be a value add to the people. And if not for nothing, I'm going to give somebody a run for their money so that they're going to get into a place where they're going to have to start doing their job. And so if the outcome is they become, I don't win, and they become the politician our people deserve, then I did my job. If it turns out that I do get the opportunity to serve, then I know that I'm going to give everything I have to making sure that our people get what they deserve. And so either way it goes, I truly believe our people are going to win by me engaging in this process. And I've already submitted the outcome of it all. And I just believe that God has given me a path to walk, and I'm just going to take it.
Amen.
I love it, man.
That is beautiful.
I love it, man. I appreciate your heart, your spirit of rebellion. We need that.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people that told Harriet, don't you leave. For real. And she got away, but she came back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I've seen that transition in your life. You got to a point where you was like, this is doctor money. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is top surgeon money. but I'm still showing up every single day, and I'm going to empower other educators, and I'm going to build up a platform to give them exposure, and I'm going to embolden them and give them a voice and show them what they can do to diversify their financial outcome. I could see that's why people across the country stood with you.
Yeah.
That's why 30,000 people signed the petition because it makes sense, man.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you being on the podcast for your passion and for your heart.
I appreciate the amplification from you guys. Like this is absolutely necessary, the work that you're doing. And I truly, man, I believe that eventually the world's going to get it, and they're going to really start tapping in and paying more attention to what educators have to offer. We're going to have more education allies like yourself, like really leaning more into the work, and in terms of not just going there to get a check because people want your presence, but to actually turn that light that's cast on you and reflect it back onto the people that deserve to have it. So, I appreciate. I appreciate what you guys are doing. This is big.
Yeah, and we appreciate you for sure.
Thank you.
I think that our listeners do as well.
Oh yeah.
I think that they're gonna love this episode. I know that I have.
Some of them in the car driving like, I'm gonna speak up.
You know what I'm
saying? They're ready to go to school.
Yeah.
Give them a website. Is it teachersforgoodtrouble.org?
Teachersforgoodtrouble.org.
Okay.
All right, teachersforgoodtrouble.org on Instagram. You can follow us at Teachers for Good Trouble, spelled all the way out. You could always follow me on Instagram as well at Call Me Shivy, SHIVY. Call Me Shivy. But that's what we're here to do. We're going to continue doing the work. We have a virtual summit that's going to be coming up February 7th, I believe, is the date that we set for it.
Let's make sure we put that information for those watching it on YouTube and in the caption when they can read it on the podcast.
Yep.
So February 7th and 17th?
7th.
Okay.
It's that Sunday. Whatever that Sunday is, I believe it's February 7th.
Yeah. That's my anniversary.
Okay.
11 years.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Yes, sir.
So, yes, that virtual summit is something major. The first one that we did back in December, we had over 1,000 people attended, which was really dope. It's something that we just, within a week kind of, put together and put on, and you were a part of it. And we got so many messages from educators like, oh my God, we love Jeremy. Like, his energy is so infectious, and you help us to remember our why, and that is very important. I think as we get more people who are not educators to support educators, that is when educators will finally be put in the proper place within society. We should be.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Amen.
So let me know how we can support that.
Yeah.
However I can do it, from posting to sharing. Yeah. I can only imagine the growth, that will come, because the last one, 1,000 people, after sharing it for a week or so, it's a much bigger build up here.
Absolutely.
So that's impressive, and we're going to keep building.
Yep.
The information popped up, so make sure y'all follow Shivy. Make sure you definitely follow Teachers for Good Trouble. Go to teachersforgoodtrouble.org and register for the online summit February 7th.
Sign our petition. Share the petition. Right? Because standardized testing for many schools, for mine, we're on a block schedule. So we tested in December, but then we're also going to be testing again in April. Right? And so for us, we're 100% virtual, but what standardized testing means for us is that regardless of the circumstances of COVID, we are forced back into the building.
Yikes.
Right.
Now, even within my school, man, within 5 days, I think it was 4 days, within the second day, there had already been some cases of COVID in the building.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's something that we need to be forward-leaning about and not waiting to the last minute about. It's something that is arbitrary. It needs to stop. And it's time to cut the faucet off on the McGraw-Hills and the Pearsons that are benefiting from these tests, which are harmful to our communities.
And it killed my daughter. I was like, boo-boo, you don't worry about that. Like, you good, you smart, you beautiful. She was in straight panic mode. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to testing things like that.
It's so harmful to the emotional health of our babies right now, and our educators.
I was going to say
right
us
now.
too. I mean, it is, so many of us take it on as almost a gospel at times of who we are as an educator.
On us,
we take it on as, okay, this is how my students performed, then this is what
a reflection of you or your worth and
this
what
is what you're saying about me.
Yep.
And it's, as we talked about with Tyson, it's that one day, that
Right.
one day
Right.
that students are testing, and they could potentially have a bad day or a bad week.
Yep.
And,
Yep.
especially these days, what if they're coming in to test and they're not feeling well, but they feel like they have to be there?
Yep.
So then they test, they may be positive with COVID, they're not feeling well. So that means that they're not going to do good on the test. And then they're potentially also spreading it to other people.
Yep.
And it's just
Yeah.
because they feel like they have to be there.
And the reality of it is a lot of folks will go, well, we got low death rates among the young people or whatever. Yo, if we lose one kid.
Yeah.
And then what happens when they go home to their parents or their grandparents?
And that part, nobody talks about that.
Bruh, both my parents got pre-existing conditions, heavy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, and my kids like to go over there on the weekends. And so it's always kind of that eerie feeling.
It could be it could be the grandbaby.
Yeah.
That
That
could-
cute little bit, they got to kiss that cheek.
Yup. Yup. And then
Right.
boom. You know what I'm saying? So I think what we're doing is bigger than all of us. And so I appreciate your support on that. We're going to keep leaning on doing the work. We're going to keep fighting for it. And there's other things to be fighting for.
That's it.
That teacher minimum wage.
Yep.
That free access to health care, mental health care for
Yeah.
educators. Like, a lot of these things need to happen in order for us to have a more healthy workforce.
And we need to get, we've got too many connects. We need to get you on CNN too.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Because last time it was kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, well, and
so
they
let's talk
don't
about
bring
that.
on the voice of educators, and they damn sure don't bring, they really don't bring on the voice of black male educators
Right.
on these major platforms
Right.
like that. We're already a super minority in the education field, but then we're ignored
Yeah.
and invisible to the world.
We got to find a way to finesse that right up.
Yeah.
And then when you on live, got him.
Yup.
I appreciate you,
All right,
man.
man.
You
Thank
ready
you.
for me?
Oh yeah. Oh
Come
yeah.
on. I want-
Rap it.
It's my turn.
Oh,
Come on.
with
Let me
it.
go.
Go ahead.
60 seconds, bruh.
All right. Ready?
I'm ready.
Go. Do you snore?
Bad.
First celebrity crush.
Oh, Keisha Knight Pulliam.
All right, this one I really want to know. How long does it take you to get ready?
Too long.
That's what I thought.
Like an hour
That's what
or more.
Okay. Would you rather cuddle with a baby panda or baby penguin?
Oh, I like mammals. Well, they're both mammals. I guess a panda. I don't know.
What's for dinner tonight?
Oh Lord, whatever I can order.
Facts.
Have you ever slapped someone in the face?
Oh yeah, I mean I'm from East Orange, New Jersey. That's definitely happened.
What type of milk do you put in your cereal?
Lactate.
Okay. What's the best age?
Shoot, the age I ain't at yet.
There we go.
I
There
like
we go.
that.
There we go.
I like that.
There we go.
That's
In other
beautiful.
words, the best is yet to come.
Yes.
Yeah, dig.
Yeah. Hey, we appreciate y'all rocking with us this week.
Yeah.
Shivy, again, man. Appreciate
Thank
your
you,
heart,
man.
your
Yeah.
passion. This
Thank
going to
you,
be
Shivy.
good.
Thank you.
Thank
Yep.
you so much for helping me find my voice. And I hope that he has helped you guys find your voice as well. Don't
get
be
it.
afraid. And if you found your voice and you want to tell us about it,
Come
don't
on.
forget to write us a review.
Yes.
Let us know how much you love Shivy and you love us here at Next Level. Don't forget to give us those 5 stars.
5 stars. Show us some love.
And we will see you next time.
Peace.
Later.